we have changed or updated or evolved our model to where companies can earn money back from AgList. We pay them for getting endorsements. All right, guys, coming up, we're going behind the scenes with building AgList, the Yelp for agriculture. Tim and I are going to walk you through exactly the process we went through to launch AgList and how we're thinking about growing AgList. We're going to try to get as tactical as possible, share all of our learnings along the way and some of our strategies around building this platform. Guys, before we get into the podcast, huge shout out to our sponsor, American Ag Credit. If you guys haven't checked them out, they provide a number of financial solutions for the ag industry. So check them out if you haven't already. Number one, they have a great business. They serve farmers. They're all about agriculture. But two, they have this insights service called Terrain. We recently had Matt Wolf, our favorite ag economist, on the podcast to talk about some of the insights. He's on staff with Terrain, and they regularly put out content across all of the ag commodities that is super valuable for the industry. So you could check out those insights reports from Terrain. Hit the link in our show notes. Check them out. We'd appreciate it. All right, Tim, I'm super excited for this conversation. Just to really take a step back, we have our coffee here, and talk about lessons learned. We're how many months into, 6-7 months into launching AgList, the Yelp for agriculture, and specifically starting with biologicals. So, Tim, I want to talk about and frame this up, how we kind of came to get this idea, and then like our strategy around launch. I think that's really important, like how we built it on the platform and how we prepared to launch this to the world. So I'm going to start with just a very fundamental question, Tim. Do you think that we could have launched this without the podcast? Do you think that we needed the fact that we have this content engine of the podcast? Do you think that was crucial, or do you think someone could launch this from scratch? What do you think about that question?
I think it definitely helped like accelerate the traction to get us off the ground. Like having the network, having the audience, I think was really critical, because pre-launch we were able to talk to folks in the network that were at biological companies to really talk through like, here's what we're looking to build. Is this interesting? To kind of get early feedback on what we were looking and kind of inform decisions that we were making about the products. So I think it definitely was a huge advantage having that. Like it would be much harder to start this, like if you were net new coming into the industry and like didn't have the credibility or profile of being in the network of some of these folks. I think it was a huge head start to kind of get us early product market fit, product validation before we launched it.
I think it was core to our strategy was having the podcast be a part of it. I think anyone could build something like this, but the question becomes, what's your strategy to get it out there? And I think we were able to have immediate distribution because of the podcast, get clicks to the website to drive website traffic, and SEO was hugely valuable to get the website kicked off with a bang. But I think probably equally as important is getting product feedback. So we had this strategy, Tim. We didn't want to launch this thing to the world that didn't have big part of AgList value is the more companies and products are on it, the more valuable it is, right? And so we didn't want to launch this thing that was just basically empty. Like we wanted to seed it with companies and products so that when people went to aglist.com, when we launched, they could get immediate value from it and look at the different companies, look at the different products, use all of the search functionality to find those products. And so our strategy, Tim, was we had this idea of like launch partners where let's get some big names, some credible biological companies on board before we launch. And this kind of served two purposes. One is we could seed the platform with products and companies before we launch so people could see the value. And two, we could get product feedback from them, right? So we kind of had a beta site built and we could get their feedback about how it was working, how they interacted with the platform, what they liked, what they didn't like. And then I guess there's actually three reasons. The third is they paid us up front. So that allowed us to offset some of the development costs before we even launched. So that was a huge advantage, Tim, because we were able to, subsidize the development cost to building this and get their feedback. So all those things were instrumental in getting this off the ground, having that launch partner strategy.
Yeah, those are really critical piece of like having the support and confidence from these companies to go ahead and build this and kind of give us that commitment upfront prior to launching. Like when we're asking to pay an annual fee and like them basically committing to that before we launch is a huge show of faith to actually like know that we're going to deliver, we're going to launch this product, they're behind it. So that was definitely a critical aspect.
And I think going back to the podcast, I think that companies knew us. They knew the podcast. They knew who we were. They knew we were farmers, that we were using biologicals. And so I think there was a lot of credibility there, right? Versus someone coming off the street and going to a biological company and saying, hey, give us $2,000, right? They're going to say no every time. And that was part of our strategy. And I think that definitely helped get us to launch. Tim, maybe you can dig into how we built this, like what platform we used. How did we even think? We were actually exploring a few different platforms. So maybe walk through how we landed where we did.
Yeah, when we started like coming up with the idea for AgList, we were like really into the business model of directories, of basically aggregating information, creating a platform that has all of these products and companies indexed. And so we were looking at different template companies where you could buy a template and basically build it ourselves. And as we kind of further contemplated the business model, it was a little bit too big for kind of just a cookie cutter outside the box template for a directory. So we came across a platform called Bubble, which a lot of web applications are built on, started doing some research there, really kind of early on in AI with feature functionality to kind of build robust websites. So thought Bubble would be a good platform to build on. And then from there, neither you or I are technical. I wish you were technical, but we knew we had to bring in some resources to help kind of develop this, build this out. So we did basically a bid and reached out to a number of companies that do software development, specializing on Bubble, talked to a few folks and really landed on one that we just had a great rapport with. Talked about the vision, like they're not agriculture people, but they got it immediately on kind of what we were looking to build and got off to the races with them.
Yeah, and I think looking back, Tim, we were not sure about this. We chose much more expensive option, right? And I think there's two schools of thought with directories. Like one school of thought is just like build a directory super fast and super cheap and see if you get traffic, because directories are largely driven by SEO. And so that was one school of thought. Should we just launch something? We know this is a need. Can we get traffic on organic? And really that model, you can really do and test and iterate on like without doing anything that publicly. You put something online, you hope you stir up some traffic. But we chose a different path. And the path was, yeah, this is a directory, but we kind of have a bigger vision and we want this to be more robust than kind of the standard, make a few $1,000s a month type of business online. We had a bigger vision. And I think investing in a scalable platform and a developer team was such a good decision. But like it was not clear to us when we were in that moment.
Yeah, I think we betted on growth and building on a platform that would allow us kind of future growth and scalability to add in new features, not be confined with a straight directory where we would have to rebuild it if the platform grew too big.
I think another point, Tim, is all this stuff with AI was happening as well, right? Of like just vibe code it, right? There was like so much attention around vibe coding and these tools, building web applications with AI. There's like an AI component, but Bubble's been around, right? Like Bubble is not was not with this latest uptick of all these AI startups. And so I think there was a temptation to like, let's use one of these new fancy tools. But what we've seen over the past 6 months, and really since kind of we started working on this a year ago, a lot of those tools, you can get 80% of the way there, but you can't get the final 20, right? And I think if we would have gone, let's build this ourselves, let's vibe code this, I think we would have like never gotten to launch. And then I think it would have proven a not a positive outcome. So I'm really glad that we went with kind of a proven platform at the time, because I think a lot of people are like, they have cool ideas, they want to vibe code it, and then it just never materializes. And we said, no, let's actually take a platform that we know we can get to launch and execute on. And I think that was also very key because I think people just have ideas, want to vibe code something and just hope it magically is an overnight success, but that rarely happens.
Yeah, it's a good call out, Ty, because like there's been so many kind of like features or bug fixes and stuff where like if we had built this ourselves, like we'd be kind of IT tech support trying to figure it out, and we're not technical to really understand that. So by having a third party developer on call, it's super responsive. We can respond to customer requests and feature updates, all that kind of stuff, super promptly, super quickly to keep things updated and current.
100%. So we had 8 launch partners. That was crucial. And it was crucial because when we announced it, we could make a lot of noise, right? Because it was something that people could immediately see the value, see products on there. All of the launch partners obviously promoted it as well. So there was just so much attention around AgList. We were able to drive so much traffic to the site from LinkedIn, from our podcast, from the launch partners promoting it. So that was, I think, really key, Tim, to set us up for success and kind of get that early momentum and traction. So maybe we can move into kind of how we decided to price it, right? Like we basically had this idea of there's, hundreds and maybe thousands of biological companies. It's so hard to make sense of all the products and companies out there. How can we streamline this information in a great way for farmers to interact with? And so when we thought about pricing it, we really compared it to the price of a biological company attending an industry event, right? Or sponsoring an industry event. And to attend and sponsor the biological events that are out there, it is thousands and thousands of dollars, right? It costs a pretty penny to get your name out there and attend one of these events, some of which are farmer focused and some of which are just not even really that farmer focused. And we thought, hey, we have a platform here that's evergreen, that farmers come back to time and time again. It's a resource for farmers. And there's a long tail of exposure versus just like a 2-day conference that comes and goes. We have something that is evergreen and there's ongoing content related to it, right? As companies and products get endorsed by farmers on AgList, that's more content to share and distribute. So there's just this continued impact of visibility for companies. And so we thought, hey, let's price it. It needs to be priced, accordingly. And so we landed, Tim, and there was some conversation back and forth here of, should we have just one price for everyone? Should we distinguish between companies? And we landed, and I think this was actually proved out really solid, Tim, 2 tiers. One tier is up to 4 products, and then the other tier is unlimited products. So basically only 2 tiers, up to 4 and unlimited. And the reason we chose that was there's a lot of companies that only have 1, 2, 3 products. And we didn't want them to have to pay the same as a company that has 50 products or 20 products, where the company with the 20 products has more real estate on the site. And so we landed on kind of this 2-tier system, Tim. And I think that was also another probably good decision in terms of segregating or segmenting different biological companies.
Yeah, I think we wanted to make it simple and easy to understand, where some pricing models are too complex. There's too many tiers. It's hard to sift through, making it really like binary of kind of like limited number of products, a lot of products, and basically having these 2 tiers. When we originally launched, we contemplated like having monthly pricing and annual pricing and giving a discount for annual pricing. And over time, the first couple months, really learned the value on AgList isn't a short-term fix. Like if you sign up on monthly and expect to double your sales the next month, it's just that's not the platform for this. It's a slow build. Agriculture is a long-term game. And so we felt that the right decision for AgList and for the companies on there were really to commit to it annually and like really invest the time to get endorsements, get their name out there, and not be kind of short-sighted one-off of just trying to be in for a month and try to see if you get a couple customers and then get out. So we quickly pivoted to annual only to even kind of further simplify the pricing and subscription model.
Yeah, that was a huge learning. That was definitely like a pivot we made. The original idea was like have options, have optionality, right? Have monthly pay as you go or annual, and you get it. You save on a per month basis. But you're so right. We found that like we wanted to attract the right type of companies to be on the platform. The right type of companies, when we talk to companies about joining AgList, they get it. They understand that the value in AgList takes a long time. There's value accrued over time. They also understand a rising tide lifts all ships. So they see the need for a platform like ours in the industry, just full stop. They're like, we've had so many conversations, Tim, right? Where it's like, AgList needed to exist in this space in biologicals. And we're so happy you did this. And I think having those partners that are just in it for the long term and just see the value because they care. Those are the companies, Tim, that care about the farmer. They're the ones that see the value of giving farmers options, making sure farmers understand what they're buying, what the options are for them, versus the companies that are like, I'm going to leverage AgList to, double my sales in a month, right? Like it's not happening. But we've seen over time traffic continue to grow and more eyeballs get on it and more endorsements on the platform from farmers, agronomists, and researchers. So that was, I think, a great decision that we made early on is to pivot away from monthly. So we're 7 months in, Tim, and we're up to 36 companies at the time of this recording and 180 products on AgList, which is so cool to see that number ticker continue to go up and just be the place where growers can find various products. And we've had the adoption and companies signing up. It'll be 2 this week and 0 this week and 1 this week. And we're getting companies continue to be interested and excited about what we're building and signing up for the platform and signing up to be long-term partners. So that's been really cool to see. And I love seeing that product counter go up, Tim. It's like the most exciting thing.
Totally. Yeah, it's been fun to watch. And it's been kind of cyclical of sometimes you'll get a couple signing up and then a little bit of a drought and here and there. And I think we're less than a year in. So we'll understand kind of the seasonality to this business on when companies are signing up, if they want to make a push in the off season, get their products listed and ahead of the 2026 crop year. And a lot of this is, budgeted through marketing. And so sometimes these kind of expenses have to go through a lot of different parties before companies can sign off on it. So we found the sales process like it's not new to us in ag. It's a typically like a longer sales cycle where it's not something that you pitch someone the next day they sign up and list all their products, where a lot of it is, we need to talk to our regulatory folks or our marketing folks to kind of get all the information we need to list products. But overall, it's been super positive and companies really leaning into kind of the value of having third-party marketing that AgList provides.
And I think in terms of providing value to the biological companies and having them see value, we've seen a number of companies already tell us they're getting new customers as a result of AgList and their exposure on AgList. But the way I think we've thought about it is how do we continue, because it's a year now that they're signing up, how do we continue to add features and promotions and marketing campaigns over the course of the year, right? So we continue to just hit the companies and hit our audience and AgList visitors on an ongoing basis. And so this has been really fun, Tim, because I think it allows us to be really creative with AgList, right? It's not just this like dead directory, right? That like is the same. And it's like you go back and nothing's really different about this directory, right? Like that I think has been the coolest part, is allowing us to be really creative and think about, hey, what would be fun to add? What would get attention? What would drive traffic? And so we have some stuff in the works, but something we launched recently was AgList AI. And this is basically a way for another way for farmers and users of AgList to engage with AgList to find the products that they need. And it's an AI trained specifically on agronomy, knows agronomy better than you, that's for sure. But really, you can talk to and ask agronomic questions to and get feedback on products on AgList and like what are farmers liking. And it pulls from farmer endorsements and it pulls from all the data that's on AgList. So it's a very, very powerful tool. And I think driving more and more adoption and engagement on AgList.
Yeah, it's fun to incorporate that. It's like not really a monetizable part of the business, but I think it makes the platform a lot more valuable as we continue to attract more companies and more products. Like that's really interesting as a user to be able to tap into that database and really ask just simple questions about certain products and have it queue versus having to go through a subset of filters to find what you're looking for. And like having kind of the endorsement piece is really interesting, getting that anecdotal of like, what are farmers in my county saying about products for tomatoes and stuff like that, where it's, I think, much more useful than just the product data alone by having the anecdotal endorsement information.
I think that's the power of AgList, right? It's like organizing all of the product and company data that doesn't exist anywhere else, but you add in the color commentary of actual farmers and the opinions and recommendations of actual farmers. That's, I think, the beauty of AgList. On the data point, Tim, that's another area that we thought about of how can we provide value to companies. And so we have been tracking all of the data and the traffic and the engagement on AgList to inform an annual insights report. And basically the idea here is there's a lot of useful information about like what people are searching for on AgList, like what type of products, what type of crops, what type of geographies. We're aggregating all that data that I think is really valuable, and we're going to consolidate and summarize it in an annual report only for the companies on AgList. So they, in addition to getting the visibility, the traffic, the third-party endorsements of their products, they get this as an additional value add as well. So another area we thought of, hey, how can we continue to drive value back to the companies that are paying to be a part of AgList?
Ty, let's jump ahead to kind of like the roadmap and kind of the future that we see for AgList. Like obviously, like this summer, we're kind of heads down just on the sales and business development train, talking to companies, getting them signed up. But we've been talking a lot about, how can we add further value? How can we make this platform more useful for growers to find biologicals? So let's dive into that.
Yeah, so I think, you hit on it. The more and more companies and products that we get on the platform, they're more valuable for the users. AgList AI was kind of a value add for the users. The AgList Insights report is valuable for the companies. And we continue to think about features to build to drive traffic, engagement, and value across the ecosystem. We've got one in the works that we're going to keep hush hush about, but should be launching very soon to really promote soil health and regenerative agriculture and biologicals and make it fun. I think, Tim, we haven't mentioned that to date or to this minute yet on the podcast, but we wanted to make AgList fun. Really, when we were brainstorming this original idea, like one of the core things we were talking about is that ag is kind of down right now. Farmer sentiment is down. Ag tech VC, there's thoughts around that being just down, and there's a negative connotation around it. Like ag needs more fun stuff, and so that was really a key part of that. And so even as we think about features, Tim, it's like let's do stuff that's fun, and the fun gets the benefit of just like engagement, but also virality because people talk about fun things. So we're definitely looking to add more and more features before the end of the year around AgList that I'm really excited about.
Yeah, fun is a core tenet here at the Modern Acre and AgList. I think the other exciting thing is it's like a free resource for the industry. Like we're very bullish on kind of the transition from synthetics to biologicals. And I think we both are aligned that I think the future state of agriculture is probably a mix of the both, but biologicals are having a moment. There's a lot of momentum here. And by being able to provide this resource, hopefully we can help accelerate and drive this transition by being a free platform where growers and agronomists and researchers can find this information that they wouldn't have been able to otherwise.
All right, Tim, I want to wrap up a little bit with some evolution we're making on pricing. So we talked a little bit about the beginning, our thoughts around pricing. And I think we've done a lot of soul searching and thinking about, how companies engage and get value from AgList. And when we first launched, we talked about AgList being the Yelp for agriculture, right? And I think I like to make the comparison of companies that are on Yelp, right? And let's use small businesses. Let's use restaurants. There'll be restaurants, 50 sushi restaurants in San Diego, and they maybe a lot of them are paying Yelp for their kind of premium services, right? But how much value one of those sushi restaurants gets out of Yelp is really driven by how much they invest in it. You could have the best sushi in the world, but if you're not investing in growing your Yelp profile through getting reviews and getting good reviews, you're not going to be seen on Yelp, right? And so similarly, a company can join AgList and just hope and pray that AgList drives, value to them, which we think it does, even in its baseline scenario. But the companies that invest in AgList and invest in getting endorsements, they're going to be the ones that see the most value because we're sharing those endorsements. Those are getting traffic and visibility. And then it's ranking them higher as a result because they have the most endorsements on their products. And so, Tim, we really spent a lot of time thinking about this of how do we further incentivize engagement and investment. And instead of having the companies invest in that, we decided we will do that. So we have changed or updated or evolved our model to where companies can earn money back from AgList. We pay them for getting endorsements. So this is pretty cool, Tim. I'm really excited to see how this evolves the business and grows our adoption. We pay companies to get endorsements, and those endorsements and that money is credited towards their next AgList subscription. So we think that this is a really cool mechanism because companies will now be more and more incentivized to get endorsements. Endorsements drive a better platform on AgList, and it gets them better visibility, and it shaves money off their next AgList subscription. So it's kind of this really cool model and mechanism to grow the platform because they're going to be helping getting more and more farmers on the platform. It's improving their visibility, and it's kind of a win-win-win scenario, Tim. So I'm super excited that we recently changed this.
Yeah, I'm excited about this change. Like you said, endorsements just don't fall out of the air. Companies need to talk to their growers and their customers and really ask for one. We see this every day. Like when I go to my barber shop and he's like, "Hey, can you leave me a review, man?" Like, would really appreciate it to get the word out versus if you don't say anything, I'm not going to review that. But if someone makes a point of, "Hey, it really helped me out if you write an endorsement, if you think I did a good job," I'm happy to do that. And so sometimes it just takes asking. And so this is kind of a nudge in that direction to get biological companies asking. Like they have a lot of customers that are excited about their products, but unless they take the time to ask them and have a conversation, could you spend a couple minutes to fill this out? It's not going to happen, and it's not going to generally happen organically. So this is kind of a nudge in that direction.
And we thought there's time and resources involved in getting, making those asks, right, Tim? And getting in front of farmers. And so we thought, hey, take it out of the AgList budget, right? You go get an endorsement. We're going to pay you for that. We've created this new budget for you to go, the endorsement budget, right? You go get endorsements and make promotions and campaigns to do it. And yeah, you can take that out of the AgList budget. So we're hoping that this is a really good mechanism to drive endorsements, which is good for us, good for the platform, good for the companies, and also help with just continuing to have people be on the platform. Because you can imagine the companies that have more and more endorsements, they're not going to want to churn or leave the platform, right? Because this is now the place that they can point to of where there's recommendations and endorsements of their products. So we think this is an exciting mechanism to help grow what we're doing.
Totally. It helps bring the price point down too. If they have a lot of interested customers, you could get this, highly discounted if you're getting 5-10 endorsements a year, to subsidize your ongoing investment into AgList.
And Tim, I think the last point we'll mention is, man, when are we going to add from biologicals? So when we launched, we had the vision. We think that this platform is what the ag industry needs, what farmers need for any products or services they're using on the farm. We got good advice. I think Shane Thomas mentioned in his initial coverage of stay focused, because this is such a needed industry of biologicals that we need to stay focused and make sure we really build out a solid platform. I think we're nearly there. We've got growing adoption. So we're currently contemplating and strategizing around what category next. After biologicals, what is it? So that's a teaser. And we're excited to get other things on the platform, but still, continuing to grow the biologicals category. So that'll be fun when we launch Vertical 2, Tim. Will be very exciting.
Ty, one last thing I wanted to bring up is one more feature that we're rolling out. And this is really preceding AgList with companies that are currently subscribers on the platform. So this entails kind of creating a very bare bones profile that companies have the ability to claim. Like when you go on Zillow and you search your house, if you haven't linked it to your Zillow account, it'll say, "Is this your house?" And you basically claim your house. And so looking at a similar concept where a lot of these companies are searching on the platform, but if you actually see what your logo would look like on AgList, how it would look, just to encourage those companies to claim the profile and build it out further. So excited about that. It'll allow us to add more companies on the platform as we're kind of reaching out to new companies just to pre-seed an account for them and show them kind of a personalized look of what their profile would look like.
Well, it's been a challenge, right? That has been feedback we've gotten is we'll get question. We have an FAQ. I think we've made it as simple as possible for biological companies to sign up, but we'll still get reach outs from people of, how do I get my products on AgList? And I think having this claim profile where we have bare bones profiles where people can see, oh, this is what it is. And now I just need to go claim it, right? So I can start adding products. I think that's a lot more intuitive and hopefully, incentivizing people to want to claim it, right? It's like Google Maps or too, right? Is you see the business on Google Maps, but it's not claimed. You're like, I got to claim my business. And so I think that'll be another just mechanism to encourage companies to sign up. So we're excited about that as well. So we're always thinking about what are strategies? Maybe it's pricing, maybe it's something with the platform, maybe it's features. We kind of take this multi-prong approach, Tim, of how do we do this better? And I think that's like key in a business like this. You just got to be iterating and listening to your customers, the companies, the farmers about what would make it better. And this is our side hustle, right? This is a project we don't spend a ton of time on, but allows us to just be creative and think of new ways to make it better. So I think of some of these new changes, Tim, I'm really excited about.
Yeah, I'm excited. We'll have to do a check-in at the end of the year and see how things are coming along, especially after we've launched some of these features.
Hope you guys enjoyed this episode, kind of behind the scenes of building AgList. Let us know what you think. Reach out to us on LinkedIn. Tim and I are on LinkedIn, posting regularly. If you're not connected with us, be sure to do that. Our LinkedIn profiles are in the bio. And of course, if you have not already, subscribe to the podcast wherever you listen to your podcasts and on YouTube. We appreciate you guys tuning in.